on, brother? How are you?
Good, man. Good. How you been?
I'm doing really well. I don't have your hoodie on. It's too hot right now where I'm at.
It's, you know what? We got the AC pumping here, and I said, I'm throwing the hoodie on.
I was gonna try, but it's yeah. I just did a run this morning and I was just sitting down reading. I wasn't even wearing a shirt until I jumped on here with you actually.
Tarps off
I'm
runs.
yeah, I literally, dude, this office gets so hot. The sun rises. This is there right beside me is a window facing east. So the sun literally just rises and beats in this room and it's like a greenhouse, man.
How you been, man? How's it going?
I'm doing really well, man. How are you?
Hey, buddy, plugging away. Another day.
Yeah, yeah. What's been up, man? What's new?
It's been wild.
Your
It's
hair's getting long, dude.
I'm growing it.
I
It's
like it.
yeah. There was that in between stage where it just kind of puffed out, and I got really mad at it all the time, and I had to wear a hat. But yeah, now I'm just letting her fly, buddy.
Dude, I like it. I like it.
Thanks. The yeah, things have been good, man. Busy. It's been wild. Like I'm back full time duty, so doing that stuff, and then RTF's been wicked. It's been expanding month over month and taking on clients and new coaches, and it's just been insane. I love it.
That's awesome, man. So what
Yeah.
what's it been like kind of onboarding a couple new people?
It's good. It's pretty streamlined now. So I've got a lot of the, kind of kinks out of it and stuff. So it's super slick now. They basically have an intake form right on the website. And then they can choose, because I have all the bios of the new coaches, they can choose what coach they want specifically. That coach gets notified. And then they can start that intake process. And then it's legit, just a video chat and go over their goals, what they have available to them to the gym. Some of the clients are like, I got nothing. I just want to get fit again. And some clients are like, yeah, I'm working out at a Globo gym or I'm working out at a CrossFit gym or I got a kettlebell. And I'm like, perfect. So, we can make it work with anything. So it's really sweet. It works out really good. So, and then the intake process is pretty well done. They set up the payment plan and off we go.
That's pretty sweet, man. What's like
Yeah.
do you has like do you find that everybody that comes in kind of has some sort of a connection to first responders, RCMP officers, or is it kind of do you
It's a
what do
little
you
bit of both, really. That's like I say to people, you don't have to be a first responder or a veteran. Thing is everybody has stress. Everybody has those factors that affect their everyday life, right? Maybe they're a shift worker. Maybe they're somebody that works in a factory, so the repetitive movement, or they're working nights and then days, and then they got to take the kids to hockey or whatever, right? So everybody has their factors, and it's just a matter of figuring out, okay, what are your stressors? What are the factors that are, they call it like a tournament of priorities, like things that are taking away from our end goal and figuring out, okay, what can we do to get you to that goal, right?
yeah.
Um, yeah, it's been good. Yeah, so it's a lot of first responders and veterans, but it's some of my clients are, just people that just found RTF through the word of mouth or online, or it's been crazy.
Yeah, man. It's such
Yeah, buddy.
it's such a I guess it's kind of different with trainers because when you have a business, well, I guess they do kind of rely on you a lot, right? It's always something I always think about when we have employees is like I gotta try and keep this guy busy, man.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty slick. Like, they can fire a message directly through their training app, and just be like I get messages all the time, right? Like, hey, what's 20x1? And I'm like, oh, that's not 20 reps of one set. That's your tempo, right? So, they can message directly through the app. Hey, I'm not feeling good today. Can I do that workout tomorrow? Yeah, no worries. And then I'll flip it over to tomorrow. And yeah, so we can kind of converse back and forth really easily through the app. So it makes it, more of like I always say, I'm in your corner. I'm like, we'll work together to make it work, right? So it's just a quick message away. And then sometimes they're like, hey, can we have I try to do video calls once a month. Being said, sometimes schedules don't line up. So I always say like, just reach out if you want to do a video call and we can make it work. So
I was talking even more about like your employees, like hiring on two employees. Like I
Oh,
feel
they're
like
they're beauties.
It's
Yeah,
it's
they're,
it's the biggest thing I feel like a lot of the time with us is like when we hire people in construction, it's like fucking hell, I got to keep this guy busy, and it's always like that dance of like accepting new jobs and not
yeah,
overloading yourself, but like
yeah,
you don't want to be too busy that you can't like provide the service, but you don't want to
yeah.
be so slow that you're like, how the fuck am I gonna pay my guys?
Yeah, no, for sure. They're it's been great actually. So Rayanne and Colby both jumped on board pretty well at the same time. What was happening was I was pretty well at capacity. And I was trying to take on more and more clients, but even myself, I was starting to feel a little bit of that burnout. And I was like, I want to keep reaching more people. I want to keep this thing growing because it's freaking working, right? And it worked out great. Rand's actually a client of mine that was working with me. So I was like, you know your shit. Like, why don't you work with me? Right. And she owns Raise Up Fitness. So it worked out great because she already has that background. She's an IFBB pro bodybuilder. Like, she knows her stuff, right? And then Colby, same thing. She's from Alberta. So Ray's from Ontario, Colby's from Alberta. They're both switched on, right? Colby's a oh my gosh, tactical conditioning specialist. So it's pretty
Wow,
cool because it totally transfers over into policing, right? Or firefighting. And then she's a lieutenant with the local fire department. So they both have an extremely good knowledge of the firefighting world, which, I have a big knowledge of the policing world. Um, and they're just experts with the firefighting world. So like somebody wanting to get into firefighting, that's their bread and butter. They know what it's going to be like. They know what the entrance exams are like and the testing for the fitness side of it. So I was like, fuck, let's work together. Let's do this. So yeah.
that's wicked, man. That's really, really
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, thanks, buddy. Yeah, yeah.
Congrats, man.
Yeah,
So
I
what?
appreciate it, brother.
How long have you been working back full time now? How many months has it been?
I'd say I started back full time. I'd say probably February-ish, January, February. So just after Christmas, I started my like gradual return back and kind of, getting the feet wet again. And so yeah, it's been good. Yeah, it's nice. It's I'm not on patrol. I'm doing like a detective constable position. So we work with a lot of the drug work and organized crime stuff. So yeah, it's fun.
That is really cool, man.
Yeah,
What's
it's
sorry?
I was gonna say it keeps it interesting, and it's not patrol can be, the same old, and it's kind of like I always call it like the surprise bag whenever the available car comes over the air, right? You're like, what am I gonna get today? So
Yeah.
at least this way we kind of know a little bit more of what we're getting involved with. So helps with the psychological stuff.
Yeah, a little bit less of a mixed bag. But
Yeah.
yeah. And obviously I feel like the mental obviously takes like it's harder to kind of identify, it's harder to heal, it's harder to, but physically how are you feeling though?
Good. Yeah, yeah, really
Feel
good.
bad?
It was yeah, so my foot's all healed up good. It still bothers sometimes on longer runs. I know I did a backyard ultra down here at Kejimkujik National Park, and my goal was 10 hours, and I think it was like hour two, I started getting that foot started cramping, and I was like right away, I was like, oh no, like this is exactly what I didn't want to have happen, right? The tendons were getting tight. So I said to my partner, Kristen, I said, like, my foot's starting to cramp. And she's like, well, it's not going to stop you. And I was like, you're right. It's not going to stop me. So I basically just ran it out. I kept going and the tendon loosened out and we were good. And I ended up getting 10 hours and she got 11 hours because she could never let me beat her. So she ended up getting the 11 hours. So she tried to get me to go out for the 11th hour, but I was just I was cooked. So yeah, couldn't get the 11th in.
That's insane, dude. The longest run I've ever done was it was like 5:20-ish to do a
Yeah,
marathon.
yeah,
And dude, I was fried.
yeah. You know what? If you get the chance, do a backyard ultra because it's insane. Like so they have like a PR bell there too, and it was wild how many people were nailing that PR bell because the way it's set up is, you're 6.67 kilometers every hour on the hour, but you get a little bit of time in between to kind of recoup. So you're fueling on the run. You're running at a very slow, steady state, like, 7-minute kilometers, maybe, like
Yeah,
high
yeah,
sixes, right? So you're basically just like a zone, ideally your zone one, zone two heart rates. And then you're just plugging along, right? Like I was jamming to, five finger death punch, having a Rice Krispies bar, like just fucking along, right?
yeah.
And so you're just doing that, and then you get back, you refuel with your more carbs, your electrolytes, and then out to the corral you go, and they fire the bell, and off you go. So a lot of people were hitting PRs, right? So yeah, if you can ever, I'm not sure, there's got to be some out around your way for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're really good. Another guy that's really good with them is Satch, Satch Emotion. They do the Third Perspective podcast. He's good shit. And I think right now he's running 60 kilometers a day or something for 60 some days. Like, guy's
Absolute.
wild.
Yeah, absolute animal. He is
Yeah.
an animal,
Yeah. But the winner of that backyard did 55 hours.
dude.
Imagine
That's
55.
how it's so. That's 2 days. Yeah, two and a half.
It was like, yeah, it was like almost 3 days. Like, I'm no mathematician, but yeah, it was
So
like almost
every
three
hour on the
days.
hour they're running.
Yeah. Yeah.
How?
He's wild, man. Like,
I
I
guess if
remember
you
he came into
crush,
the,
I was gonna say, I guess if you crush like maybe you do like a couple of super fast, so you could just crush a nap.
yeah, so it was cool because we actually stayed up the hill. So we had the rooftop tent, which there's a wild story about don't rooftop tent after an ultra marathon. But yeah, so he came back whenever we went down because they ran all through the night, right? So you'd hear the bell and everything going while we were sleeping, and we're like, holy shit, they're still going. Like, so he came back and he just kept being, he's like, I'm not quitting, man. And I'm like, that guy's not gonna quit. Like, he is fired up, right? And I'm there like dragging my legs. And yeah, like it's insane. Like, so some of them would get back at like 48 minutes, let's say, instead of like the 54, 55-minute mark, and they'd crush like a 3 minute nap. And then their crew members would be like waking them up after a 3 minute nap. I'm like, oh my God, like I can crush naps, but 3 minutes, like, whew.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a little much.
Yeah.
I've had that before though, where I'm like kind of not nearly as intense, but obviously like you're working like on a hot day in the summer and you're like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna just lay down for a minute in the grass here on your
Oh, that brings
lunch
back.
break. You're like crush your
Yeah.
lunch super fast. You're like, I got 20 minutes. Fuck yeah.
Yeah. I remember whenever I was a heavy equipment operator in the pit. That was my specialty. I could hear the trucks coming down the road bouncing and banging. So in between trucks every now and then you just stick the feet out the window and till
Oh
you heard the
yeah.
tailgates bouncing, you were good.
Oh dude. Yeah, there's been so many times where like, yeah, customer doesn't open up the door and you're like, well, set a 15-minute alarm on my phone. Like,
Yeah, exactly. How's the weather been out there? Have you been?
dude, yeah, it's good here. It's
You've been
been
running a lot, eh?
Yeah, I've been running quite a bit more. I'm trying to get better in better shape now. I just it's I just turned 29, dude,
Mm,
last month. So I'm like I need to get in the best shape of my life before 30. Like I want on the day I turn 30, I want to be in the best shape of my life.
nice.
So
Yeah.
I've just been running a lot more and training a lot more. Yeah, I've actually just been trying to clean up my diet as well. Just like
Yeah.
eat less shit and eat less. It's crazy how much I thought that I needed to eat,
Yeah.
you
So
know?
true.
It's so weird,
It's
man.
yeah. Yeah, it's wild, man. Like even just like the processed foods, right? Like, it's one of the biggest things with police or people on like shift work and stuff is we just want that quick hit of sugars because our bodies want some sort of dopamine hit, right?
Oh
So
yeah.
it's like those golden arches look pretty today. Let's stop in there. It's like, no, no, keep driving.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, trust me, man. In construction, it's fucking no better. It's
Oh,
like some of the guys you work with, it's like really all you've had today is three energy drinks and two packs of cigarettes. Like you think that
yeah.
that
Yeah, but they're the
you
lights.
had
They're
a
not the king size.
yeah, yeah, but you had a bag of beef jerky, so I guess you got some protein. Like, fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, dude, it's crazy. It's funny how yeah, just weird things like that. Like I didn't eat I used to eat so much, man. And
Yeah.
I guess it's just like a product of like being a young man and like testosterone filled and you're like working out and you get fed all these things like you need to be eating like 5 meals a day to
Yeah.
gain muscle and all this stuff and like some people do and dude, so be it. But like, dude, I've been eating like twice a day and
Yeah.
just like regular fucking meals, just like a little bit of meat, a little bit of protein, a little bit of rice, just like some fruit in between. And it's like
Yeah.
crazy how much better you feel.
Yeah. Yeah. And too, like if you're getting a lot of good healthy foods in and you're changing up, like I love meal preps and all that good stuff, but you got to change up what you're meal prepping because your guts too, right? Like that's huge for your digestion and for weight loss is your gut microbiome. So like making sure that you're changing up, you're not like, yeah, chicken and rice and all that good stuff, but throwing in some steak, throwing in some other types of protein sources and getting those veggies in, that's going to help the guts too, right? For your digestion. So that's also that'd be freaking key
Yeah.
with anybody trying to really hone in their nutrition is getting the gut microbiome up.
Oh yeah, dude. And just having like things that I never had before. Like I started having like kefir. Like, is that how you
Yeah,
say
yeah.
it? Kef
Yeah, ooh, that's a good question. I That's how I'd pronounce it.
I don't know. But I saw it at the store. I'm like, I'm gonna try that. My girlfriend's like,
Yeah.
"Really? Have you had it before?" I'm like, I said I'm gonna try it. Like
Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, little things like that, man. It's weird how like even though I was eating like quote unquote like clean before, I was just eating so much. And like I
Yeah,
just yeah. And like dude, I it's not like I wasn't burning the calories because I'm moving all day at work and then I train at night. And usually I do some sort of a workout in the morning as well, but
yeah,
it's so it's not like I'm not burning the calories. It's just there wasn't need for that much. Like my body weight did drop, obviously. Like I'm like
yeah,
I lost like probably 5 pounds in the last like month and a half, 2 months, just like completely ditching a meal.
yeah.
But I just genuinely feel better. Like
Good. Yeah, I like it. Yeah, man, and even just like you said, like cutting out that processed foods, like that's clutch. Just because it's so calorically dense, right? You can have a small meal, but if it's processed, there's a lot of extra stuff in it, right? So,
yeah, such a big
yeah.
trade-off, man. I was just talking to somebody yesterday about that, about how like in other countries, there's people that would literally kill another human for 1,000 calories, and we can
Yeah.
get it in like 15 minutes with a press of two buttons in a
Yeah.
box, and it looks
Yeah.
pretty. It
And
looks
it's
pretty.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, so true.
Such a
Shit.
weird world that way, man. How's
It is.
but yeah, dude, it's Vancouver's been hot, dude. It's been like 30 degrees. It's
Man.
already like every in the morning when I get to like depot or any lumber yard or anything like that. It's like 19 degrees at like 6:30 in the morning.
Wild. We just got back from Toronto and we stayed at a little Airbnb in Corktown and it was insanity. I was like, man, I am overheating. Like we walk everywheres and rent bikes and stuff, but I was like, yeah, like I need a shower. Like this is
Oh
a
yeah.
hot ass day. Like
Yeah,
so
it does make ice baths a lot more appealing, man.
totally. Yeah, yeah. I still gotta I think the last time we were on a podcast, I was still converting my freezer. That
I don't
thing
even
that thing is just empty now.
Dude, I use a chest I have a chest freezer in my kitchen. I just use it regularly, but what I do is I take like those plastic meal prep containers
Yeah,
and I just fill them with water and I just throw them
nice.
in the chest freezer. And then I just fill my bathtub whenever I want to take one with like the cold tap water and I just chuck like 6 or 7 ice blocks in.
Nice.
Good to go.
Yeah, that's clutch. Yeah, there's one of the guys with one of the regional departments in New Brunswick, an old troop mate of mine. He like converted his freezer. He had the aerator and everything, and I was like, shit, good on you. Like he did the full setup with it. So, and he's like, I wasn't using the freezer, so I was like, well, I'm not using mine either. There's like a butterball in there from 4 years ago that I could use out of a cannon, but like don't really use it. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that I've dude, my chest freezer comes in clutch, dude, when I don't want to go to the store. I'm like, got a couple fish in there from last summer.
Yeah. Have you been getting out camping or anything good?
Yeah, I've been camping a few times this year. I've just been kind of yeah, it's been really nice, man. This summer I've been trying to spend a lot more time on the weekends, just kind of chilling out a little bit more. Honestly, like with the podcast, just changing my habits from like doing 2 episodes a week and doing like solo episodes to just doing conversations like this has
Yeah.
just taken such a not a load off my back, but like just it feels easier and it
Yeah.
feels more natural and it just it's giving me a lot more time. I'm not like kind of just like sitting and thinking about how to pull content out of life's events. It just
Yeah.
like kind of happens organically,
True. Yeah, yeah.
which
And
is
there's
a lot
very
easier.
yeah, yeah. And I like your style with it's legit just like a conversation with two two chaps, having a little convo together and kind of bouncing around ideas or life events, right? It's very organic, which is wicked.
Yeah, and it's fun. It's
Yeah,
like if you're
yeah.
gonna do something and spend hours a week on it, week after week after week after week, and then sit there and wonder why the fuck am I doing this? Like you should have fun doing it.
It's so
Like,
true. Yeah, that's why I'm always like, yeah, fuck, let's do a podcast, 100%. Let's
yeah,
fucking
yeah.
because it's always a good time. So
Oh, I appreciate that, man. But
always,
yeah, dude. So it's been fun. Like this summer, I feel like I'm like kind of moving in the right direction that way because I've been getting a lot more responsibility at work with like
nice.
the family business and kind of trying to grow it a little bit more and take on, yeah, even more responsibility. But yeah, aside from that and training as often as I can, that's pretty much all I got going on, man. It's like a
Yeah.
pretty it sounds so like it's funny because anytime I talk to anybody, like, hey, what's new? Hey, what's new? And my answer's kind of been the same in the last like 4 years. It's just like, well, I go to work, I come home, I work out, I work on the podcast, and then any free time I have, I spend with the people I love. Like that's pretty much it.
That's sweet. Yeah, it's so true, man. Like, yeah, it's and summer fucking flies by, right? Especially like I remember whenever I was, and you definitely be in this, but like, that's whenever you're working the most as a construction worker is in the summer, right? So like I remember whenever I was running equipment, like I had my motorcycle and stuff, and I'm like, I can't go for a motorcycle drive because it's raining. Like the only time I get a chance to go on the thing is whenever it's raining, right? So, yeah, it's hard for you too with the weather because that's whenever you got to be working with construction. So.
Yeah, here for sure. Like in excuse me, but we're like 3 hours away from like 400 lakes in British Columbia. Like you can go like there's so many lakes around here. So when it gets hot, and for me, I'm like I want to go and just like post up next to a lake. I don't want
Yeah.
to. So I'm always thinking like if I can crush this like project by like Thursday, I could take Friday off. I could, you're like 60 hours in the first 4 days of the week, so you could take 3 days off. You're like, let's do
Yeah.
this. That's like, yeah, that's how summer feels for me. It's just like consistently like sprint and then chill, sprint, chill, sprint,
Yeah.
chill. But I
Oh,
like
well,
that.
yeah. You're getting it down to a science.
Yeah. And yeah, it's funny, man. But I don't know how you feel about that, but like when people are asking, like, what's new? What's new? I always feel like so lame that the answer is always the same. Like, I always feel like everyone's got like, especially at the age too, like everyone's kind of getting married, having kids, or like and then you look on Instagram and people are like, oh, new car, new this, new that. And you're like, yeah, just doing the same old shit.
Yeah, well, they always say, right? The Instagram's like the highlight reel, right? So, that's why I always appreciate, there's some athletes that I follow and stuff, and they post their fails. They post the stuff that, their misses, and I'm like, beauty, right? Like because right? Like social media, it's, it's good and dandy. It helps with networking and reaching out. Like, obviously, even that's how we met, right? Was through the socials. So, but it's its own little world too, right? So,
Oh,
I'm
dude.
sure they're struggling in the trenches too, doing the hammering through the construction and this and that. It's just that they're posting their new rig because they've been in there for 60 hours a week, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. How do you handle the do you struggle at all with social media and like how it impacts you at all?
Yeah, sometimes I find every now and then, like I honestly, I started to have like actual kind of business hours in a way because, like you're always working and you're always brainstorming and, but I love doing this and it's nice because I can do it anywhere. Like whenever I was in Toronto, I was programmed in the mornings, for clients and stuff, getting caught up but I think you got to have that finger on the pulse that you know, there has to be a balance, right? You have to have the work-life balance. You can't be just on the socials all day and trying to post and post and post. And, obviously you want to gain traction with the business and this and that, but you also have to realize that, sometimes people will follow you or whatever, and they're just click and move on. It's not so I try to keep that in mind, right? That, social media is a great way to network and reach out to people, and it's been great for me. But understanding that it is social media and, your friends and family and clients that you have are the ones that really, those are the ones you gotta show the time for too, right?
Yeah, and dude, I've got this weird theory going on in my head. I honestly believe it's such a dumb thing to say, but dude, I feel like social media in like the truest sense of what I'm trying to say is the fakest place. Like I feel like people are like what I mean by that, obviously it's the fakest place by what everyone thinks. But what I
Yeah.
mean is like we're almost like convinced we need it for business. But I
Yeah.
think you could
Yeah.
attest like all of the business that we get for construction is word of mouth. It's all
100%.
referral. It's always like,
Yeah.
oh, this person needs their kitchen done. Like, oh, my friend likes the way that you guys did this bathroom, like whatever it was. And
Yeah.
and it's always like like I'd say 100%, yeah, of our business
Yeah.
is referral and word of mouth. It's like, yeah, my dad's been doing this for 35, 40 years. Barely has a website set up.
Yeah, he
You
still has
know
the
what I
black
mean?
book. I
Yeah,
remember I
yeah.
worked for a guy, he had a black book for the phone numbers. I'm like, we have phones now, Vernon. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. And
yeah,
dude, and these guys, they probably like I'm not saying like they take it all home, but you know, millions of dollars goes through businesses like that
yeah,
that
yeah,
are run by guys that are like, how do I add a contact on my phone?
yeah,
It's
yeah. I
crazy.
mean, it's so true. Yeah, and I think
Your
that
business is
too.
probably
Like,
the exact same. Like we're convinced we need social media to run business, and it's like
yeah,
I feel like we don't. I feel like it's actually not the way that business runs. Like,
I think that if you're genuine in, like how you promote it and like I personally like to use it as a mode of showing what RTF can do, but also like showing that there is a life outside of policing or first responders, like that because I always grew up, policing, you're living a glass bowl and this and that, which you do. But because, whenever you're out, people are like, oh, he's a cop. And it's like, yeah, but fuck, like, come on.
wait,
Right?
you're a cop?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah. But but if you have a client that you're really like, doing well with and they're hitting their goals and stuff, they're going to be promoting you. You don't, you know what I mean? They're going to be saying, hey, like, fuck, look, this is what I've been doing. Like, you know, and then that's a genuine testimonial, or you know what I mean? Like, it's, yeah, I think there is a need or there is a place for social media and stuff, but I think it needs to be kept in check to a degree, right? Or understand what it is, right? But yeah, I like using it as a way to show the progress that clients are doing because, it's so much of us become jaded in our careers and that we don't have a life outside of policing and I just get called in for this and that. And it's like, man, there's so much more to life than this, right? So yeah, that's what I kind of like to use it for. And yeah.
Yeah, it is actually kind of nice, I would say, to have a little bit of a highlight reel for yourself. Like it is kind of cool because
Well,
I was just gonna say I do have like my personal account where I just really honestly post like once every 4 months, and it is a highlight reel. Like it's like
yeah.
that's my like look at this fish I caught. Look at where I am. Look at
Yeah.
where I am and look at what I'm doing. Like that's
Yeah.
my, but for the most part, like I that yeah, and that's where I would say most of my time on social media, if I'm like scrolling or doing anything like that, I'm on like the Risen Fallen one because that's just where that was my main account before. I just kind of had to like almost separate myself from it because I was just like always on fucking social media.
Yeah, yeah, I
So
definitely had to keep an eye on it. Even like my partner, every now and then, she's like, "Hey, you've been programming. Now you're posting. How about you just, appreciate that we're sitting at the dock on our lake?" And I'm like, "Oh, fuck, that's right." Like I
yeah,
just
yeah.
because I love it so much, but at the same, like I love RTF and what it's doing, but there also has to be time to appreciate and do what there has to be a life outside of it too, right? So,
Oh, dude, I don't even like if I'm on the thing is, dude, I so I turned off all my notifications. That was like the first step. And then the
yeah.
second step for me was to put like a timer on as well.
Oh, nice.
And then the last step was I just started scheduling my posts so that I'm not like
Hmm.
on there fucking doing my posts.
Yeah.
So the bad news about all that is if I'm on it, there's only two things I can be doing. I'm messaging people or I'm doom scrolling. And those
Yeah.
are like the two options I have. So like I try not to go on it because
Yeah.
I'm like I don't want to get stuck in the scroll.
Scroll. Yeah.
But I'm like, oh, I have to message this person. Especially like recently, I've had some issues with my phone, so I've been bouncing from phone to phone, and they don't have the
Yeah.
same contacts. So I'm like, literally, Instagram and Facebook is like the only way I've been chatting with people recently. So it's like kind of a weird, uh, yeah, it's kind of a weird thing because my algorithm is fucking good, dude. I don't know about your algorithm, but they
It's
nailed it
been
for me,
good.
dude.
It
They
was funny actually.
nailed it
I
for me.
I gained a client, and I was like, how'd you find RTF in our intro chat? And they're like, actually, I'm not a first responder. I've never been, but my son-in-law is, and I follow one of their pages. And I was like, the algorithm worked. Like, I was like, that's perfect. She's like, I
Yeah.
guess it did, right? And she's still with me. She's a sweetheart. But that's what it was she followed something and they followed. And I'm like, oh man, I don't know, the algorithms do work.
Oh, dude. And they're good at, dude, I get programmed for the most crazy things, dude. My algorithm knows me so well, dude. It's so good. It's
Yeah.
dude, I get like a lot of injury videos and car accident videos.
It can hear
Mostly,
you.
yeah.
Hears you in the morning complaining
Oh,
about your back.
no, no, dude. It's like a lot of jujitsu and MMA, like
Oh,
injuries, like arms getting broken or legs getting broken. And I,
yeah.
I, I used to watch a lot of skateboard videos, so I get a lot of skateboard injuries, like guys slamming and like, dude, it got to a point where my best buddy and his wife are like, stop sending me this shit. Like I don't need to wake up to six broken arms.
Yeah. A
Uh,
massive suitcase gap or a staircase gap, and yeah,
oh,
there's your
dude.
morning coffee.
Yeah, I'll send you some because there's some wicked ones, dude. It's nuts. And it is so it's weird though. I feel like a lot of people, maybe I don't know if you know like can comment on this, but I feel like a lot of people there was always when we were growing up there was always like that idea like, oh, video games are going to desensitize you to violence, right? And then there's like the violent movies, the action movies, and now like dude, if you looked at my algorithm, it is It's dude, and Twitter's even worse. It is literal war zones. Like
Yeah,
just, it's insanity. It is
yeah,
so.
yeah,
I was showing my best friend the other day. I'm like, you can literally just watch murders. You can on Twitter, you can literally just like search shooting, and you can watch like murders, full on like
wild.
robberies at gunpoint. Like you can just watch people. Yeah, it's insanity. And
Yeah,
but the thing is, this is what I was going to say. I don't feel like, I mean, I'm desensitized to it to a degree because if I were to watch those videos before, I was like, oh, and now I'm kind of like, whoa, I'll watch the video. I
yeah,
still react, but like I'm down to watch it.
yeah.
Like I remember when I was a kid, I watched there was footage of Rey Mysterio's knee surgery and I watched it and I threw up. Like I was actually so squeamish, I threw up. And
Yeah.
but I don't feel desensitized to it. Like when I see people get injured in real life, I'm still squeamish, dude. I don't
Yeah,
know
yeah.
how that like translates or how that works because I've seen
Mm.
so many videos of it. But then even at jujitsu, when I watch someone's shoulder get popped out, or even when my shoulder gets popped out, like I've been injured, or you know, and I see it in person, I'm like, oh, dude, I go like I feel cold and sweaty, you know,
Yeah,
like
yeah. Oh yeah. I have a weak stomach anyways on a good day, so you know, it's great on patrol for sure. So yeah, so I usually it's a lot of gagging and getting through it, but yeah, so I can't really attest to it because I got a weak stomach. So it's usually just getting through it.
yeah, I was gonna say because I feel like a lot of people. I was having like kind of I was having this conversation with someone the other day. They were kind of talking about how it's what was it? He was kind of saying like kind of the idea of it's hard for police to do their job right now. You know, there's the people that want to defund them. There's the people that want to record them and say how abusive they are and all this. And then he was saying, but the other side of it is they get so jaded, they get so desensitized. And I was like, you know, I used to think that they do get jaded and desensitized, and I've had conversations with people that are kind of like that as well. But from what I've noticed, like the people that I've spoken with, it doesn't really happen that way. Like it's kind of like, no, these are still human beings. Like they're
Yeah.
still they take that shit home, man.
Yeah, 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 for sure. There's definitely the lingering effects from the gig for sure. And I think that, yeah, I think that that's, well, and that's also, right, like where the RTF side of it came from was developing those good coping mechanisms. So you're not like, I can't wait to get home and have a drink and whatever, right? Like being like, I've had even now, like, I use fitness as a way to deal with what I deal with. But even now, right, I'm like, I gotta go for a run. Like I had that one day the other day at the office. I was like, I was fired up and I was like, I'm going for a run. Right.
Yeah.
I went for a run, burnt it off, and I came back and
Did you keep your
went,
uniform on? It looked like you're chasing
no, no,
somebody.
I was, yeah, no. Can you imagine? Yeah.
See you
Uh,
running at me. I'm like, what?
yeah. No, it was a paperwork day, so I was in my civvies, but I threw on I went into the locker room and changed into my running gear, and so yeah, so that's the thing is like sometimes yeah, having those good mechanisms, not like before where it was I can't wait to get home and have a beer or whatever. Like fuck, that ain't gonna get me anywhere as closer to my goals. So
Oh, dude, that's like the tame version. I'm like I was thinking in mind like of like the guys that are like I wish someone would fuck around today.
no, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because like,
Well,
dude, I have those moments like growing up, like I've had
yeah,
those moments and I'm not in that position where I'm just like, you know, taking the sky train. I'm like, say something, like somebody say something. Like you're just pissed off and you got a chip on your shoulder and you're just looking
yeah,
for some way to prove yourself to yourself. You're just
yeah.
like, and there's guys like, dude, if I've had that as a construction worker or as a salesman or whatever job I was doing at the time, working in a fucking restaurant,
Oh yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
And that's it, right? Everybody deals with that type of stuff, right? It's just, yeah, I guess it's how you kind of learn how to deal with it and stuff, but never fails. Always, you know what? It's like Tom Segura says, some people suck, right? Like
Yeah.
right? You just gotta, not everybody's good shit. So you just kind of take it as it goes.
Well, like coming back into in into like full-time work, like I'm sure there's obviously discussions of like, hey, I've gone through some of this shit before. Like, is there like, do they kind of accommodate or make a plan for you like coming back? Obviously, you don't have to answer anything that you feel like is too personal, but
Yeah, yeah, no. It was a little bit of a roadblock at the start, just because um they hadn't really dealt well. They've had issues like or incidents like that. Um, but getting a gradual return was a little bit more of a headache than it should have been. But we got it done, and that was a big factor in why I was able to get back. Was because it was kind of like a phased approach, right? Um, and so yeah, it definitely it would have got us on the report card. It probably would have got a satisfactory review or room for improvement.
right.
But hopefully it's better for, God forbid there's another incident, like, but hopefully for the next people that might need to use it, that it's a lot easier. But I kind of was like, you know what, like this needs to change. The system needs to change, and um, the old school mentality doesn't work. And that needs to be better. So yeah, I kind of went to bat that way, and I was fortunate, right? Like my occupational therapist and my psychologist and stuff were very supportive of kind of that phased approach, as opposed to just, have at her. And I'm like, I don't think I can have at her.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It is. I kind of refuse to believe though that you're kind of like the first case that's dealt with something like this, and that's why I kind of just it makes me upset that I'm like, man, they should have some better.
Yeah.
Like just being like the whole like gradual like return is like a difficult thing. It's like that should be the standard. I don't know why,
That's,
but
that's pretty well my conversation was. I don't know why
yeah,
this is such an issue. So then it started to get better. But there was a lot of back and forth at the start, right? So but yeah, it's kind of, yeah, is what it is. We're through it now, and I was a little, I wouldn't say jaded at the start, but there was definitely a chip on the shoulder at the start about it because it's my career, it's everything I've ever wanted to do. I wanted to get back at it, right? So, but here we are, we're back at it. So it's what it is. And
yeah,
it
yeah.
has changed for the better now. I'll give it that for sure, right? And I proved that by getting back to work that, hey, this gradual returns, they do work. So, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm glad that that's the case, man, because we
Yeah.
definitely I think it's a really t it's tough boots to fill, and I it if someone's enthusiastically saying let me fill the boots,
Yeah.
like I don't understand.
Yeah. Legit. It's
In
like,
my eyes, I'm like, please, like it's a job. Like with all due respect, it's a job I don't really want to do. It's too scary
yeah.
for me, man. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
I'd rather deal with like structural problems than people problems.
All there's days where I'm like, you know what? Running the heavy equipment was a pretty good gig when I come and think of it, but yeah, I'm glad I'm doing it. So it's what
Dude,
it
I'm
is.
glad you're doing it too, man.
Yeah, I appreciate
That's
it.
it's yeah, like I said, that is kind of a weird, frustrating. It's funny how the people that need I don't know how to say this, but I feel like the people that need the most assistance like or the people that are in the position where they don't want to speak up are the ones that need to speak up the most. You
Yeah,
know what I
I
mean?
think
Like how
that,
easy would it have been to just fold to whatever they said? They're like, no, there's
yeah,
no gradual return. You're like, oh, okay.
yeah. Or that the gradual return was so regimented. Like, yes, they had kind of a gradual return and an idea of a gradual return, but it wasn't. It was everybody's different, right? It's the same as
Yeah.
programming. I don't send template programs to everybody because everybody's different. So it's the same as a gradual return. What works for one guy might not work for the next guy. So you have to adjust it to what their incident was and what their exposure rate's going to be and stuff like that, right? So yeah, I think there's always room for improvement. There's always like for each person, right? Like it can just be adjusted a little bit to make it work. So
Yeah.
if
I've
that
always
answers the question.
yeah, well, I don't even think I had a specific question, but
Yeah.
I just remember like I've worked for obviously not a organization or corporation that big, but I've worked in some pretty like big box organizations. And I just
Hmm.
always felt like there was actually one time where I took like a LOA as well.
Hmm.
Um, and it was like doctor's note written, everything like that. And they were like obviously like legally, they're like, yeah, you can do it, but they weren't
Hmm.
like too stoked on it, and they weren't
Yeah.
like fired up about like kind of my return and do it's always like, why do I have to fill out like seven fucking pieces of paper? Like you're my boss, we text. Like why are we?
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
guess it's just like by nature of like now I'm working like kind of family business, self-employed, so it's like there's none of these like hoops to jump through, and
Yeah.
now I'm realizing how redundant it all was. Like
Yeah.
I used to have to fill out like four fucking pieces of paper if I wanted to take like 3 days off.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy, right?
Now I just shoot a text,
Yeah. Yeah.
text a customer, hey, I'm not coming this week.
Yeah. No, it's and I think EAP programs, that's one of my big things now too that I'm kind of working with the department with is like, having those rate supports in place. Because I noticed, whenever I was outspoken about my struggles, other people were like, hey, like I'm struggling. I don't want to say anything, but I'm struggling with this and that, right? And but I don't want to get put in the penalty box, or I don't want them to not promote me and stuff. And so I think having the right EAP program, so people in those frontline positions feel supported, or like any even a box store, right? So that there's somebody that can be like a peer support person to help out the members or the staff, right? I think that's huge. That it's kind of, yes, they have it, but some departments it doesn't actually work. They don't have it set up properly. They just have it to check a box, right? So I think changing that can be huge for a lot of departments to feel appreciated.
Yeah. And so since your return, have you had people kind of come back to you and be like, yo, how did you do this?
Yeah, yeah, I've had people kind of like, man, like, how did, yeah, really, I've had a lot of people reaching out and then I think whenever, um, it really hit home hard was I had a troop mate of mine that I used to be back in the summer that unfortunately took his own life, and it he's a neighboring department, but it just rocked me because just a beauty of a fella, like you'd never expect it from this guy. Um, and it was just shocked, right? I was just like floored, completely rattled, and I'm like, none of us knew. Like we were in touch, but nothing crazy. But one of my neighbors was his partner on shift, right? So that really hit home hard, and I'm like, all right, fuck this. Like, I'm making some, doing, just speaking out and making some changes or do whatever I can, right? So, yeah, that really, really hit hard because I was like, holy shit, like, okay, now it's really personal, right? So, yeah. So, yeah, so that was kind of a real not a turning point, but a real moment where it really lit a fire. Like, no, I'm really gonna speak out more about this and that it needs to change.
Oh man, yeah, I remember you posting that. I'm so sorry about that loss, man, but it's
Yeah, no, yeah, no, I appreciate that, buddy. It's it's one second here, I hit the how did that happen now? Stand by one here. I hit the wrong button, so now it's turned on music on my thing.
what
What the
song was playing?
fuck?
What song was
I
playing?
don't know. It's a peaceful one. There, are you there?
Yeah, yeah, I'm here. Thank you for putting a smile on
Ah,
my
shit.
face. I was tearing up there for a second, but
Yeah. Yeah, no, I appreciate the condolences. It was yeah, like I said, it was a tough go. But I think that really lit a fire where I was like, all right, I'm speaking out more about this and getting some changes, right? So, and management's been great. They've been very supportive. So, yeah, we're getting there.
yeah. Oh yeah, you meant like that, like okay. I just even speaking about it. Like I mean like
Oh
within
yeah.
within the organization for sure, but dude, it fucking yeah, it just fucking I just it may sorry, it just put me in a place where I was thinking about people I know that have taken their lives, and it just it does become personal. You're like,
Yeah.
Eh,
Yeah.
There's always this
It
feeling of
definitely.
like, what could I have said to let them feel safe enough to
Yeah.
speak? How
Yeah.
could I have
Exactly.
connected with
Right.
them?
Yeah. Yeah. So that's why like I think that you know being there for each other, like the old phrase, right? We got your six, like we got your back. But yeah, checking in on people, right? Like, and not everybody is as outspoken as I've been about my struggles, right? Some people struggle, but people have their own ways of showing their their stresses, right? Like if you know what somebody's baseline is or what they're normally like, and all of a sudden they're a little bit different or something, maybe there's something going on, and um, so yeah, always checking in on your buddies and stuff can even, and if nothing's the matter, well, they're like, oh fuck, he really does care about me, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So like you can also, it's a good way to keep in check with your buddies for sure.
yeah. Did you kind of see signs at all, or did you like kind of know something was up?
No, I was floored. No, I had no idea. It was actually one of my buddies that messaged me being tried to call that night, and then I called him back in the morning, and then that's never they told me, and I was just like, what? Like, so then the calls to the other troop mates and stuff like that. So, um, yeah, no, I had no idea. They did had no idea. His partner had no idea. So, and it was, whenever I kind of got the news, I was at a family friend's funeral, and I was like, it was like we were getting ready to go and stuff, and but I had a few hours, and I just said to my parents, I was like, I told them what happened, and they were just like, what the fuck, right? And I was like, I got to go for a run, and they're like, yeah, you do you, go ahead. And like I came back an hour later, just like soaked right from the run, and I was like, okay, let's go deal with this other funeral. Like, fuck, right? Like, but I was like calmed down enough, right? So I really realized how much I use fitness as a way to deal with that, right? And then, of course, there's the grieving side of it and this and that, but you know, just yeah, I really was like, okay, running's my way of coping here and fitness. So let's go for a run and try not to tear a lamppost out of the ground.
Do you listen to music while you run a lot?
Yeah, sometimes. Depends. Most of the time, yeah, I will. It's funny, right? Like sometimes you're pacing, if it's Five Finger Death Punch or it's Hollow Coves, kind of adjusts your pace. But yeah, sometimes I usually do. Yeah.
That's so funny, man. I'm always podcasts or like Fleetwood Mac,
Mm,
like that kind of like I like just zoning out. But
yeah.
I've done it twice now. This morning was another run where I just kind of like I'm leaving everything, like keys, phone. Don't break into my house on any of my neighbors when I leave for the. But I literally just leave everything at home and just go. And dude, it's pretty nice. It's
It's true.
interesting what comes into your head and
Yeah.
what repeats like over because you like I don't know. I run for like 30, 40 minutes in the morning. So
Yeah.
like for that 30, 40 minutes, it's weird to think like I kind of had the same thought the whole time. Or like there's weird
Hmm.
songs that'll get stuck in my head. Like
Yeah.
why am I singing Cindy Lauper to myself? Like what the
Yeah. I remember like on the run, it was funny because I had it set to transparency mode. So I was running along and it was I could hear other people if they were coming up close or whatever. And it was funny because my partner, she came by and she was like, are you good? What are you listening to? And I was like, I got Skrillex on. I'm just in Zen here. I'm chilling out. And some guy was running by and he's like, Skrillex, huh? Like you're trying to keep your heart rate down to like a zone one or two. And I got Skrillex and dubstep on. Like, what are you like? I should have had some chill ass music on, right? But I was
Yeah,
like, yeah, no,
yeah.
I'm just vibing here. I got Skrillex going, right? So,
Yeah. Listen,
but
I'd get
yeah.
Landslide going, dude. That's been my running song recently.
Oh, yeah.
Landslide, dude. What a good song. It is I was just gonna say about the last what we were speaking about. It is it's so fucking yeah, painful almost sometimes when you don't see the signs, but it's almost like it's weird though because I personally I've had those kind of situations where like you kind of do see the signs and you start to
Hmm.
rationalize it to yourself You're like, oh, I don't want to make you almost like get embarrassed because a lot of the times it's like the things that you notice are like things that you'd kind of be embarrassed to bring up.
Yeah.
Like, dude, you kind of like haven't been showering as much, or like you're wearing shittier clothes and you're not exercising as much, or you're just eating garbage food, or you're starting to do drug. It's the things you don't want to fucking like. You're almost embarrassed to bring it up with someone that you love,
Yeah. Like you
and
don't want
you're
to
like,
offend them or something.
you don't want to offend them. You don't want to make them like uncomfortable or feel
Yeah.
bad. So you just kind of like justify it to yourself or give them the benefit of the doubt. And then you're like, fuck, I wish I said something, man.
Hmm. Yeah. I think you're always gonna in incidents like that, right? You're always gonna have those what ifs, right? It's kind of take it in stride and be like, okay, what can we do for like adjust, right? And so it's the old peaks and valleys model, right? We get through it. It's just a matter of making it, you know, adjustments, I guess. Yeah, it's hard to say, right? It's so situational. It's tough for sure. And every situation's different, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
it is definitely the yeah, it's the weirdest fucking thing. It's crazy to think about, you know, at this point in our lives to think about how many people you know that are not here anymore. I
Yeah,
was
yeah.
just talking to somebody about that, and it's like I never would have thought that this early in life I would
Yeah.
know this many people that were gone.
Hmm. Yeah, it's wild, right? Like, you know, that's what I always say. Like, everybody's going through stuff, right? So, you don't have to be a first responder veteran to be struggling with stuff. Everybody deals with stuff. So, I think it's, yeah, having the finger on the pulse of your buddies. Like, if you notice something a little bit different, reaching out. Like, I remember one day at the office, I was redlined and I was not a happy camper. And, I got through the day and went home but I had a colleague reach out and be like, hey, like, just checking in if you're good. Like, if you need anything, I'm here. And I was like, fuck, like, I'm good, but thank you, right? Like, it was nice that they reached out, and I was good, but I was like, fuck, was I that mad, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that obvious?
Yeah, yeah.
But but they know what I'm like on my baseline. So they were like, yeah, he's a little off today. I'm gonna reach out, right? And it meant a lot, really. It really did. So
It is kind of funny too how like we kind of have this idea of who we are and how we like
yeah.
are perceived by the world, and then like you hear someone say something like, "Yeah, I thought I kept composure of myself.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
thought I
yeah. You
seemed
mean,
kind of stoic."
yeah, you mean me like almost throwing something across the office was obvious? Like,
Yeah,
oh.
yeah. You
Yeah,
mean
that's
me
odd.
keeping my mouth shut this time, but being passive aggressive later didn't show that I was calm? That didn't.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Fuck. Yeah, no, it's yeah, that's life. Get through it.
Yeah, hold up. I'm just plugging this guy in here. But yeah, dude, it is that is cool though how like kind of just kind of being able to share your story and just having other people that are in the force or just other people around you being able to speak about it because it's yeah, dude, it is painful when like that was literally like the reason for wanting to do a podcast in the first place. It's just like I'm hoping that this will help somebody speak about something that they've got going on in their head. And
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
almost like it does become personal. It becomes like I need to get this message out there. I need to
Hmm.
have people hear it.
Yeah. And yeah, 100% right. Like, and I've been in contact with his partner and just, saying like obviously condolences and all that's good, all that stuff, but being like, what can we do so this doesn't happen again? Whether it's setting up a foundation, whether it's setting up like let's do something so that it wasn't in vain and that things will change and she's so supportive and like so I do see that in some time that some stuff will be squared away that something good will become of it, right? And we can make changes and things in the departments and stuff, but yeah, I you know that's the biggest thing, right? Is I find now I'm just speaking more so to the policing world, but it becomes a member's identity, right? I'm a cop. And it's like, yeah, no, but you're Devin, right? Like you work as a cop and yeah, enforce the law and all that stuff, but you're still Devin, right? And you're still, because that was a big thing I struggled with. Whenever I was off, I was like, well, what the fuck do I do if I don't do policing? Like that's all I've known. And I've heard members say that, oh, if I don't do this, what am I going to do? I don't know, fucking well, Bob's your uncle, figure it out. We can do anything. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
so I find that that's a big, people get stuck in that and they get stuck in, I have to do this for another, 27 years. And it's like, well, yeah, but you don't. You could go back to school. Like you might have to pinch some pennies and not buy a new truck, but we can make it work. You can make it work, if you hate it that much or you really want to change, right? And if you want to stay doing it, okay, what changes can we make with your stress management maybe? Or are you talking to somebody? Like I'm a big proponent of talking to somebody, like a, psychologist and stuff, because I knew that it would help, but I didn't make that first step. Thankfully, my partner was, the one that was like, you should really start, maybe you need to start talking to somebody, right? And I really drug my heels, but whenever my incident happened, it was the wheels came off and I was like, I gotta talk to somebody. Like I recognized I was off, right? I was hurting. Um, so yeah, I think that, you know, being outspoken about it helps other people realize that you're not the only one and that it's not a weakness or like, fuck that. It's not a weakness. Like anybody that says it is or like pound sand, like, that's I don't agree with it because I think that everybody has their own ways of dealing with things and some are better than others. But you know, as long as yeah, it's hard to say, right? But yeah, fuck the weakness side of it.
Yeah.
Disagree.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I've always thought of it as like it's every challenge that we are in life is the it's like kind of the obstacle we have to overcome to get I think of it this way. Like a lot of the struggling and suffering that I had personally was because I wasn't speaking up about things. It was because there
Yeah,
was things that were going on in the back of my head and I had spoken up about them and I didn't like the reaction that I'd gotten. So I was
yeah,
like, all right, I'm gonna tuck that away forever.
yeah.
So the worse and worse it got, I kind of found myself in a position where, and obviously I can only say this in hindsight. I didn't see this in time. Well, I did in time, I guess, but it did. I didn't see it at the moment where it was like, oh, actually the position you're in is because you're not speaking up, and the only way it will improve is if you do speak up. Like you're in the turning point. Like
hmm
as weird as it feels, because you feel like you're at rock bottom, no matter like even if you're not even at rock bottom, you feel like it, and
Yeah.
you're like, this sucks. But that, like I said, it's like you're in this position because you didn't speak up, and the only way to get out of it is if you speak up.
hmm Yeah. Yeah, totally. Sometimes too, right? Like practicing gratitude. I know it sounds cheesy, but realizing what we have. I think, sometimes we focus too much on subconsciously, not because we want to, but on the negative side of things. Our bodies are prone to gravitate towards noticing the negative things, right? Realizing what we have, the families, friends and kind of grounding yourself sometimes can help a lot. And I know it has with me and has with other people I've chatted with, realizing where, like, you know, where you're at, how far you've come, right? Sometimes it's just realizing, like, holy shit, like I have made a lot of progress, or like, yeah, this is just a little speed bump in the road. I'm gonna get through it.
Yeah, yeah, dude. I definitely find like it's definitely gratitude, thankfulness. Like I know there's a lot of things in my life where like I almost feel like it's like I probably don't even really deserve all this great things that I have in life. Like there's really like as
Yeah,
much as I buy into the woo woo new agey like you're deserving and you need to tell yourself that you deserve everything. It's like, I know a lot of people that have worked a lot harder in my family, like directly,
yeah,
like people that have worked harder. that have less, you know, and I want to
Yeah.
try and just acknowledge that sometimes and just think about like, fuck, like, you know, like you look at your grandparents and how hard they had to work to get what
Yeah.
they had. And then you're like, I just kind of woke up in this house, there's a roof over my head, like got food in the
Yeah.
fridge,
Yeah.
electricity on, like all the mistakes I
Yeah.
made, and I still have this. Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah. 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 No, it's true, man.
But I definitely know what you mean about even like I think that, you know, being a cop, it can become a part of your identity even easier because I think everybody kind of
Hmm.
gets like that, you know, I do this, I do that, I do that, and that's
Hmm.
like, oh, I'm a, you know, I'm a nurse, I'm a carpenter, I'm a, you know, whatever they are, and they just become that thing. But I feel like almost, you know, like becoming a cop, or I feel like anything that to excel at, you have to train for.
Hmm.
It can become your identity because it's like, oh, what are you doing? Oh, I'm going for a run. And yeah, it does help my mental. It does help me like kind of overcome my anxiety, my stress. But ultimately, it's like it does make me better at my job. It does
Hmm.
make me, you know, and even like, dude, the range that I go to close by here, like is like cops get, I think, free entry. So like
Hmm.
they're there like sharpening their knives, you know, so to
Yeah.
say.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's one of those things where like almost everything you do becomes like to make you better at your profession. And
Yeah.
like that's why I feel like it's so easy for like military or police or anything like that to become like so bound to that identity because like it's like if I want to A, be safe, B, take care of the other people around me, and C, excel at this and climb the ranks, like everything you do becomes how to improve at this. How
Yeah.
to, you know, reaction time, actual physical speed, like all of these different things, your skills that you have to keep sharp. Like in construction, it's almost like that because it's basic, well, only in the sense of like I have to train, I just have to stretch. I just have to make sure my body moves good enough to go to work. But I
Yeah.
feel like as a cop, there's so many other skills because it's a lot more dangerous in a lot of ways,
Hmm.
where it's like, yeah, I got to kind of stay sharp.
Yeah. And I think too, it's like for the safety of everyone, right? Like if you're, you know, if you're on a short shift and it's a night shift and there's only two of you, well, who's your backup, right?
Yeah.
Who's going to be your person that's going to have your back? You want somebody there that's going to be fit, that's going to have your back and be able to fight off if shit hits the fan and backups getting called in, but they're at home and, so I think, on the policing side of it, right? Like it's a matter of like, that was a big thing I always said was come home safe. Like go to work, yeah, and make yourself so you have the best chance of coming home safe if shit hits the fan, right? If somebody grabs your gun, if somebody takes you down unexpectedly, that you're able to fight them off. And, you know, if you're not always going to have a partner right there. So, you got to be able to defend yourself. And so, yeah, I think that's where it definitely comes in. Being able to be physically fit to be able to come home safe to your family and your three pugs.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a guy I follow on Instagram. He's very, very well known in the jujitsu world. His name's Tom DeBlas, and he does
Okay.
like police jujitsu. He like trains
Nice.
police officers to do jujitsu, and he'll share like highlight reels of like you said, like situations where people are reaching for a cop's gun or whatever it is, and they just like hip toss them and like little things
Yeah,
like that,
yeah,
little things like that where it's
yeah.
like, yeah, this is an instance where, you know, like someone out there could have used deadly force, but instead this
Mhm.
guy just subdued him like safely.
Yeah,
Like no one needed to be hurt, no bones broken, no nothing. Like it was just like he's trained, he's confident, and like there you go, quick and easy. And he'll share videos like that. It's so sick. It's one of
yeah.
the best channels or profiles to follow on Instagram, man.
That's
So
wicked. I
good.
love it.
So good. And then he'll find like fail videos of like similar things, and he'll be like,
Yeah.
somebody find me this person and I'll pay for a year's membership for jujitsu or whatever it is. Like, and then he'll actually have
Yeah.
success stories. It's crazy, dude. It's so funny.
It's
Like, oh, this
wicked.
person's like a purple belt now. They've been training for 4 years. Like, it's so good, man. I
Uh,
like, how prevalent, like where you are and where you're serving, is it like an importance to take care of yourself? Because there's kind of like the two like stereotypical police officers that people think of. And it's like kind of like the big heavy
yeah.
set donut eating, coffee drinking, cruising around and fucking just like, oh hey, how's it going? And then there's like
Yeah.
the alpha like machismo. Like how prevalent
Yeah.
is like kind of taking care of
Hmm.
yourself and where you guys are at without throwing anybody
It
under the
de-
bus.
yeah, exactly. Blow the horn on the bus. Here we go.
Sorry.
No, no, you're good. It's I think that it could be more, that it should be, and this goes for any department. I think that budgets and all that stuff, they're important, obviously. But I think that focusing on fitness and stuff for members should be a focus because it legit saves your life. If you can't walk
Yeah.
up a staircase without being out of breath, how the fuck are you going to chase somebody up a staircase that's trying to get to his wife, or you know what I mean? Like
Yeah. Yeah.
or running away from you with a gun or something, or and it's just there's so many situations that fitness is going to save you or the public. So I think that departments should have more focus on fitness, in general.
And the
We're
mental
fortunate.
benefits.
Oh man, wild, right? And just like I know in speaking with members from multiple departments that they say like, I wish, it was more of a focus for us, or I wish, you know, like that we would get more support with that stuff. But yeah, I think that it needs to be more so, but it's fortunate we get the young guys and girls that are fit and stuff coming from the academy. But if they don't keep it up and stuff, it doesn't take long. Like I put on almost 60 pounds within 2 years whenever I started because I wasn't taking care of my body. I wasn't unwinding the right way from stress, and I was, I always called it tackling weight because I could still run pretty good. So, I just had an extra 60-pound kettlebell on my weight to knock people over, right? It's like an old counterweight. So
Yeah.
yeah, I could still wrestle and stuff, right? But um yeah, it was way whenever I got more in shape and I had that cardio capacity to be able to go for that longer jog after somebody, it helps, right?
Yeah. No, dude, I
Yeah.
find that, dude, and I say that especially in the construction industry as well, where it's like, dude, like you're almost like putting people at risk by being this out of shape. Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's so true.
yeah,
Yeah,
especially like, yeah, it just it makes it a lot easier, that's for sure. There's far too many people out there that are like especially yeah, I can only speak for the construction industry, but there's so many people out there that you're like, "Hey, can you give me a hand with this? Can you give me a hand with that?" And they're like, "No, my back's too fucked or my shoulders fucked, my knees are jacked up." Dude, I had to move this like massive gas stove. Like I'm doing a kitchen reno right now and
yeah,
I had it on a dolly because it's actually too big for the doorway, so we can't get it out of the
yeah.
kitchen. So we've just been pushing it around the kitchen this whole renovation. And so we get the cabinets in, we get everything like lined up, and the cabinets are like literally there's 3/4 of an inch like clearance for the stove. So like
Yeah.
yeah, like 3/8 on either side, like small, and it's on a dolly, but if I take it off the dolly, it only rolls back and forth. So like this thing, like we're talking like 300-pound stove, like at least actually probably more, like way more now that I think about it. But like substantial amount of weight, like enough that like I can deadlift like half of it, but I can't then take it
Yeah,
off the dolly. So
yeah,
I'm sitting there with a guy that's like in his like 60s. And I'm like, hey,
yeah.
can you give me a hand with this? And he's like, no problem, kid. And this guy beast modes it, dude. I literally we build a little platform to just rest one side on, and then we like shift it over onto that side. And then I just
Yeah.
deadlift the dolly or the stove and he pulls it out. But this guy's lifted. And I'm like, man, he doesn't seem sore. Like he just didn't, no warm up, no stretch, no nothing. And there's guys in their
Yeah.
40s that complain about back problems. There's guys
Yeah.
in their
Yeah.
30s that complain about back problems. And
Yeah. It's great.
this monster of a man just, no problem, kid. Let's go.
I want to work with this guy. Yeah.
Yeah, literally. He's dude, what a heck of a carpenter, man. But he's
Yeah.
yeah, dude. It's so funny to see like the result of people that have like taken care of themselves physically
Yeah.
and the staunch difference because like I think that a lot of the time it's so easy to get into this like, oh, dude, I'd love to be athletic, but just my knees are just so bad. It's like you're 29, dude.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
What are you
Yeah.
talking about? You could
Yeah.
fix these. It might take you 2 years, but then you'll be 31.
Yeah.
Like that's so young.
I know we had a guy the other day. He's an old school memories, wicked, and guy just won't retire, man. Like he's still around. He's been, oh my God, I think he started in like the early 70s, and but he does like bylaw now and stuff. Like wicked guy though. And I parked the truck in the office parking lot the other day, and I got the big rooftop tent and all that stuff on the back of it, right? So I pull in and but my like the back of the truck was sticking out a little bit and he would have had to wiggle to get his rig out. I was like, ah, fuck it, I'll leave him. I'll leave it. We'll see if what he says, right? Like, and he's a riot. So, anyways, I was in chatting with the dispatch and he comes up and he spins my chair around. He puts his two hands on the
Oh, bless.
armrest. And he's like, listen here, you little fucker. Have you ever got your ass kicked by a 68-year-old? And I just, it's, I, ballista, I died laughing just because, like, and I was like, you know what? Like, you definitely can kick my ass because you, like, he still boxes. Like, the guy is like a badass, right? And I'm like, I'm gonna move the truck. I just did it for a reaction, but that was perfect, right? Like, like spins the chair around and just looks right at me. I was in stitches and he's just shaking his head laughing. He's like, you little fucker. Yeah.
I
I was like, what,
picture
you
Clint
can't
Eastwood.
oh, legit, same thing, right? Like, and I was like, wow, come on. Like, you can't see like where my bumper is? And he's like, move the truck. And I'm like, yeah, I'll move it.
10 for it. 10 for it.
Yeah.
Loud and clear. That's awesome, dude.
Oh, it was the best reaction. I was like, you know what? In the 10 years I've worked here, that was the best one I've gotten from you. So, yeah.
Nothing like the old boys. That's so
Yeah.
sick, man. All right,
Yeah.
brother. Well, I'll let you get on with your Saturday afternoon. Before we disconnect here, you have anything that you want to chat about or anything that you wanted to say before we let you go
No,
here?
man, I think I really, yeah, I love being on the podcast anytime, man. So now I really we hit some good points and I love it. I'm good.
Had some fun, brother.
Always.
All right. Enjoy your Saturday. Thank you very much. God bless.
All
Have a
right,
good one.
buddy. Thanks for having me on, man.
Much love. Thanks for being on. Peace out.
Cheers.